I call the May 2nd, 2023 City Council regular meeting to order. City Clerk Ben Lane, please conduct the roll call.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor David Ortega.
Present.
Vice Mayor Kathy Littlefield.
Present.
Council members Tammy Caputi.
Here.
Tom Durham.
Here.
Barry Graham.
Here.
Betty Janik.
Here.
And Solange Whitehead.
Here.
City Manager Jim Thompson.
Here.
City Attorney Sherry Scott.
Here.
City Treasurer Sonia Andrews.
Here.
And the clerk is present. Thank you, Mayor.
Excellent. Well, hello, everyone. We have Scottsdale Police Sergeant Sean Ryan, as well as Detective Dustin Patrick, and firefighter Brandon Rollins, should anyone need assistance. Also, I'll point out the restrooms are through that rectangular opening there at the upper level. Let's begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I'll call on Solange Whitehead.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, let us call our attention to the war in Ukraine and remember that their sacrifice and fight for freedom and democracy is ongoing. I'll ask you to join with me in silence. Thank you. Well, May is full of graduations, and we'll be hearing about one shortly. However, May is Affordable Housing Month, and we have a proclamation, and we will have representatives from city staff, as well as the Scottsdale Realtors and the Fair and Affordable Housing Committee. So with that, I will read our proclamation. Whereas having an affordable place to call home is essential for all generations of Scottsdale residents to continue to live in a community that provides an exceptional experience, outstanding livability, community prosperity, and distinctive character, and whereas the City of Scottsdale values creative housing solutions and seeks to partner and maintain high quality and safe housing for everyone. And whereas the City of Scottsdale encourages the development and preservation of affordable housing types that meet the socioeconomic needs of people who live and work in Scottsdale. And whereas the City of Scottsdale implements General Plan 2035 full spectrum housing options, consideration of high quality and durable and affordable housing is a priority. Therefore, I, David D. Ortega, 12th Mayor of Scottsdale, do declare May 2023 as Affordable Housing Month in Scottsdale and encourage residents to support and participate in creative solutions for affordable housing. If we have some representatives from the Board of Realtors, please come forward, and I'll present this as well as the Community Assistant Office. Well, next we will have the city manager's report. I call on City Manager Jim Thompson to provide his report.
Good evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm not sure we have our short video this evening, which should be, there it is. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Public Affairs Specialist Stephanie Hirata with 5 fast things happening around the city you need to know. Starting us off at number 5, rock and roll at the Railroad Park is back on track. Enjoy free concerts every Sunday evening with a variety of local bands through June 25th. Recently recognized as one of the best live music venues in Arizona by Best of American Towns, Sundays at the Railroad Park are the place to be in Scottsdale this May through June. With Motown, disco, rhythm and blues, and retro 90s, we've got a little something for everyone. Bring a blanket or chair and relax in the park, pack a picnic, or enjoy something tasty from Hartley's General Store, or a rotating selection of food trucks. Train and carousel rides are $3. Get all the details at therailroadpark.com. Coming in at number 4, bring summer relief for homebound seniors. Scottsdale's Beat the Heat program serves 2 equally important functions. First, the city provides homebound seniors with heat relief items to help keep them cool during the summer. Second, staff and volunteers assess the needs of our most vulnerable and connect them to helpful resources. The program is built on donations from the community. Items needed are bottled water, nutritional drinks, healthy prepackaged snacks, fans, hygiene items, $35 grocery gift cards, and stamps. Please drop off donations between 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday by May 26th to the Via Linda Senior Center. Thank you to all who donate. This program is made possible due to your generosity. Learn more at scottsdaleaz.gov and search Beat the Heat. Next up at number 3, save the date. Scottsdale's annual Community Juneteenth celebration is next month. Come and enjoy cultural exhibits, vendor booths, live performances, food and activities, and so much more. This free indoor-outdoor event is from 2 to 7 p.m. Saturday, June 17th at the Scottsdale Center for the Performing Arts and Scottsdale Civic Center. At number 2, it's warming up. Let's talk about hiking and heat safety. According to Maricopa County, each year more than 200 people need to be rescued while hiking in parks and preserves. It's important to know the early warning signs and take action. Common symptoms of a heat-related illness include heavy sweating, paleness, headaches, nausea, dizziness, shallow breathing, and rapid but weakened pulse rate. Call 911 if a person becomes confused, passes out from the heat, or stops sweating. Hikers should know their limits, plan their hike, and know the weather conditions and what to bring with them. The key to preventing heat-related illnesses is to start early, pre-hydrate days before your activity, bring plenty of water on the hike, and turn around when your water bottle is half empty, and carry a cell phone in case of an emergency. Learn more at scottsdaleaz.gov and search hiking safety. Wrapping things up at number 1, did you know that the Scottsdale you live in today was shaped by a group of visionary citizens more than 60 years ago? Beginning in 1964, several hundred residents working in 14 different committees began identifying the major planning, policy, and infrastructure issues that the town of Scottsdale needed to tackle. The Scottsdale Town Enrichment Program, STEP, was initiated by the mayor and city council and open to any resident who wanted to participate. The Indian Bend Wash, Greenbelt, Bikeways, Scottsdale Civic Center, and Scottsdale's Resort Corridor are among the many legacy contributions that resulted from this incredible community collaboration. Today, the city is reviving that collaborative spirit and invites residents to join a year-long effort through Speak Up Scottsdale, an online community where Scottsdale residents can interact with one another, discussing city issues, programs, services, and projects. Simply better service for a world-class community is the City of Scottsdale's mission, and your engagement will help inspire that vision. We look forward to your contributions and encourage you to share your voice, creating a Scottsdale we can all enjoy together. For more information and to sign up, visit scottsdaleaz.gov and search Speak Up Scottsdale. And that's Scottsdale's Fast 5 for May. Thanks for watching.
Well, thank you. And let me add to that. So Indian Bend Wash originated from citizen input and originated at El Dorado Park. This Saturday, the 6th, we will have an event called Bash on the Wash. It starts at 6, it runs to 8:30 at night at El Dorado Park. Please bring a chair or a blanket, enjoy live music, lawn games, inflatable slides, food trucks, and a foam party. I think we know what that is. Lots of fun. So I know the children are listening to that, and we will be having other events in Indian Bend Wash throughout May, so please look out for that. Next, we will go for a presentation. Today, we will recognize the 2023 Scottsdale 101 Citizen Academy graduates, and this program will be outlined for us by Christy Hill. She's our citizen liaison, and the council visited with the class just before opening this meeting tonight. So please tell us more, Christy.
Great, thank you for having us. We're excited to be here and to celebrate our graduation. Scottsdale 101 Citizen Academy is designed to give residents a better understanding of the people, places, and programs that shape our city and the community we live in. After a 3-year hiatus, Scottsdale 101 returned with a new and exciting format that included 12 additional classroom hours, experiential learning, and a requirement to complete a minimum of 2 engagement projects. The Love Scottsdale engagement projects were a great success, including projects such as Paying It Forward, Adopt a Road during Earth Week, coordinating a summer food drive for Vista del Camino Food Bank, baking and cooking for public safety, attending open houses, council and commission meetings, as well as volunteering for events, and just spreading the good word of our city services. In short, getting out there and loving Scottsdale. Tonight we have all of our grads present, but we have 3 that will come up and share some of their thoughts and moments in Scottsdale 101. And with that, I will call Nancy Powers, Michael Pomerico, and Jan Dubois, if you want to take some of these front seats. Michael will have you go first, and then Nancy next, and then Jan. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I'm Michael Pomerico. Mayor Ortega, councilmen and councilwomen, thanks for the opportunity to say a few words about the Scottsdale 101 Academy that we just completed. And thank you for your support of this really excellent program, a program I wish I had taken part in it sooner, to be honest with you. Growing up in a military family and then continuing to move quite a bit as a young adult, I lived in many places before ultimately settling here in Scottsdale. And having that experience, I can say that Scottsdale is truly an exceptional place to live. There are a number of obvious reasons for that, but I think one of the biggest reasons is the residents of Scottsdale. To me, my fellow participants in Scottsdale 101 are really emblematic of that. They are veterans, parents and grandparents, community leaders, volunteers, and former candidates for office, among others. Like many, they have come from all over the country to make Scottsdale home. And of course, we've learned much from the many city officials and staff who've given of their time generously to speak with us about city management and the various city services. But I've also learned a lot from the really incisive comments and questions from my fellow participants throughout the course of the program. And a few folks also have a really great sense of humor as well. So it's been a privilege to take part in this program with them. One other quick point, the behind-the-scenes element of the program has been great. For example, if you've lived here for a while, the bus tour that we did didn't take us to too many places that we weren't already familiar with, but you did get to meet and hear the unique perspectives of people who make these places run. Having attended the Waste Management Open and Barrett-Jackson multiple times, that part of the tour really stood out to me. And finally, a big thank you to everyone involved in planning the program, but particularly the leader of our program, Christy Hill. You can tell how dedicated she is to Scottsdale, and I think she keeps the trains running on time better than anyone that I know. I also want to thank Bruce Wall as well for his limitless knowledge of the history of the city. We learned quite a bit from him. So thank you again, and as I told Christy, just so everyone knows, I'm not speaking and running. I have a flight at 7 o'clock that I have to catch for a work trip for a conference, so that's where I'm headed to now. So thank you all again.
Hello, everyone.
Pull it down.
My name is Nancy Powers. I moved to Scottsdale from New York, and I still have the accent, I'm afraid, in 2006. I just want to say that this program, Scottsdale 101, was just amazing. I don't think any of us knew learning about city government could be so much fun. What made this program so special is that in addition to the classroom presentations, it included interactive, behind-the-scene views of the way the city operates. The structure and organization of each session was so well done. A big thank you from all of us to Christy Hill for keeping everything running on time and still allowing us to ask as many questions as we needed to. We also want to thank all of the city staff who opened their doors to us to learn about their department's responsibilities and goals, and for making this such a special experience. So I learned a little bit about the Academy's history from Christy. Help me out with this one. I asked her, when was the first meeting? And she said, it was in 2003. And I had no idea, because this is the first time I've heard about this program. So I said, 2003, and how did this come about? And she said, well, it came about, it was implemented from the city manager, mayor, and council people. So I looked back at 2003 to see who was the council people. And I came across two interesting names. One was Mayor Ortega, and one was Bob Littlefield. So thank you to them for the wisdom 20 years ago to promote such a successful program. I came to this program not fully aware of how our government works and the abundant services and resources it provides. I think we sometimes take for granted our quality of life in Scottsdale, not realizing the work it takes to have a city where everyone wants to live. Often when citizens are distrustful of government, it is because there is no transparency. Opening your doors to every department, allowing questions, encouraging participation, not only shows transparency, but pride in the work that is being done. Connecting to the citizens in this way makes us feel our opinion matters, which in turn promotes an active and peaceful participation. In closing, I would like to say I always knew that Scottsdale was a great place to live, but I came away from this program feeling more connected to the city. I think we all have a better appreciation of what it takes not only to conserve and preserve what we have, but what is being done to advance innovation for future challenges. I will take back what I learned to my friends and neighbors and will encourage them to attend this very special program, and I thank you very much.
Mr. Mayor, City Council members, thank you so much for having us here today. My name is Jan Dubauskas, and I'm a proud graduate of Scottsdale 101. Class, let us thank Christy Hill. Christy, you did more than keep the wheels on, and you did more than hook the speakers. You arranged everything. You did it with grace. You did it with courtesy. You really had things organized in a way that made sense to all of the participants. You really went above and beyond, and we'd like to recognize you. Thank you, Christy. Bruce, thank you so much for your participation. You brought some stories to us that really enlivened Scottsdale. You made us remember not only Scottsdale of today that we live in, but the proud tradition that Scottsdale has had over many, many years, and you made it fun. Thank you so much, Bruce, for your contribution to our class. Council members and Mr. Mayor, I know that you are aware of what a terrific city we live in. Scottsdale is special. Scottsdale is unique. It is world-renowned. But not every one of us understood exactly all the work that goes into it. So when we would meet with Mr. Thompson, when we would meet with these fine folks here, and talk about the exact work that they do, it is stunning, the depth of knowledge, the pride that they have in the work that they do, and the openness and transparency about it. I was amazed to go to the Public Works and speak with the director, and he was so giddy and excited to talk about the exact details of how you get a curb straight. He loves having these fine details and then looking at the city of Phoenix and saying, ha, Mars is straight, there's a crooked. Because he understands the value of a Scottsdale resident. He understands the expectation. And that is something that you have trickled down through the team, and Mr. Thompson has as well, that they say, this is a special place. We need to do the work to maintain this special place. And each department that we spoke with not only talked about all of that detailed work, but then talked about the city in its disparate areas. We need to think about fire in North Scottsdale differently than we think about fire in South Scottsdale, which sets us apart from Chandler. The people that you have in this city are knowledgeable, they're open, they're incredibly thoughtful about the work that they do. And I think that that was so refreshing to all of us to see all these folks with bright open eyes who want to tell you because they're so proud of all the work that they're doing for the city. So we thank you so much for this opportunity. We thank you for the opportunity to that you opened up the doors to us. And not only that, but you've invited us to continue on, to apply for boards, to volunteer more in our communities, because this really is a gateway for the rest of us to Scottsdale. We will all tell our friends and family, and we will all invite and encourage others to apply for Scottsdale 101, the water board, for the police, for the fire commissions as well, commissions and academies. So thank you so much for your time. Thank you for the investment that you make in the residents. We appreciate you. Thank you.
Well, congratulations, Scottsdale 101 Citizens Academy. You make us proud. We know we are together we are Scottsdale. We, as a council, certainly support, the staff supports everyone individually, and all our organizations work together with the school districts and with the community college because we are all one community. So with that, I'd like you, acknowledge you. Please stand. And we do, Christy is the dean and Bruce is the co-dean of the academy. So I'd please, yeah, there you go. We want to acknowledge everyone. You know, Bruce, you should be in that picture.
Yeah, he should.
Bruce, come on. So we are moving on to the a business that's per our agenda. And during tonight's meeting, the council may make a motion to recess into executive session to obtain legal advice on any applicable item on the agenda. If authorized by the council, the executive session will be held immediately and will not be open to the public. The public meeting will resume following the executive session. Secondly, announcing that per our City Council rules of procedure, citizens attending City Council meetings shall observe the same rules of order and decorum applicable to members of the council and city staff. Unauthorized remarks or demonstrations from the audience, such as applause, stamping of feet, whistles, boos, yells, and/or other demonstrations, shall not be permitted. Violation of these rules could result in removal from the meeting by security staff. We enjoy running a smooth meeting, and you can see by our attentive audience and the presentations that we have a lot to get through in our agenda. The next item is public comment. Public comment is reserved for Scottsdale citizens, Scottsdale business owners, and/or property owners to comment on non-agendized items that are within the council's jurisdiction. Advocacy for or against a candidate or ballot measure during the council meeting is not allowed pursuant to state law and is therefore not deemed to be within the council's jurisdiction. No official council action can be taken on public comment, and the speakers would be limited to 3 minutes to address the council. I have an indication there are no requests to speak for public comment, therefore I will close public comment. Next, we have our consent agenda items, and I see we have no minutes, correct? So we only have consent agenda items. And do council members, these are consent agenda items 1 through 10. Do council members have any questions on any of the consent agenda items or request to move any of the consent agenda items to the regular agenda? Councilwoman Janik.
Thank you, Mayor. I just have a quick question on number 6. And the question is, what was the contract before the current renewal? What was the amount of that contract? Currently, we're at $750,000, and I was just curious how much inflation has played into the numbers.
Thank you. We have our city engineer stepping forward.
Hi, Allison Timke, City Engineer, Councilwoman Janik, Mayor. So this is a on-call engineering services contract, and we initially do it for 2 years, and then we can renew it for up to 3 additional year services. So this is the first of the 3 extensions that we can do, and each year the limit is $750,000.
Okay, thank you. Very good information.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Council Member Graham, did you have a question?
Oh, Mayor, I withdraw my request to speak.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Councilmember Durham.
Yes. Thank you, Allison. I just had one more question. I assume the 750 is just a maximum, and we would pay them only as they perform services up to a maximum of 750?
Yes, Councilmember Durham, that's correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I'll just, add a comment. From time to time, there are things break. There may be need for HVAC, plumbing, mechanical, or electrical, and we want to make sure that the installation is correct, so that's why it's reviewed by engineers who would be on call. Again, if it's the way we manage these large contracts. Councilmember Graham.
Oh, I was just going to move to accept the consent agenda, items 1 through 10.
You mean approved?
Approved, thank you. What was the verb I used? Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second to approve consent agenda items 1 through 10. Seeing no further discussion, please record your vote. Thank you. Unanimous. Next, we will move on to the regular agenda item 11. There's actually 2 parts to this, to item 11. The first is a public hearing on the Community Development Block Grant CDBG program fiscal year 2023-24 annual action plan, the allocation of CDBG funds, and the 5th substantial amendment to the FY 2019-2020 annual action plan. So we'll have the presentation by Mary Witkowski, the Community Assistance Manager. Then I will open the public hearing. Please proceed.
Good evening. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Mary. I work at the Community Assistance Office, and I come before you tonight for a public hearing regarding our community development block grant funds for our 23-24, as well as our fifth substantial amendment to our fiscal year 2019-2020. I'm not sure how to change the slides from up here. There we go. All right, so the Community Development Block Grant, just to give you guys an overview, was designed to reinforce several important values and principles of community development. This includes flexibility that empowers people and communities to design and implement strategies tailored to their own needs and priorities. The program's emphasis on consolidated planning expands and strengthens our partnerships among all levels of the government and the private sector in enhancing our community development efforts. Technical assistance activities and set-asides for grantees that builds the capacity of our nonprofit partners. The grant is non-competitive. The City of Scottsdale is an entitlement community and receives the funding directly from the Housing and Urban Development. Our eligible expenditures, you can see up here, are public services, housing rehabilitation, public facilities, economic development, and our planning and administration. Our next funding category is our home funding. It's the Home Investment Partnership Program on the next slide. The City of Scottsdale is currently a member of the Maricopa County Home Consortium with several other Valley members, so we receive our funding as a subrecipient of Maricopa County. The funding through our home funds can be used for homeowner or occupied rehabilitation programs, rental housing acquisition, construction and rehabilitation, home buyer assistance, and tenant-based rental assistance. For our fifth substantial amendment to our 2019-2020 annual action plan, this is in reference to our consolidated our consolidated action plan from 2020 to 2025. We received approximately $2.5 million through the CARES Act fund, and we still have remaining funds that we need to spend. So we'd like to reallocate about $22,000 of that funding in our planning administration category to do a heat mitigation study with our Office of Environmental Energy here at the City of Scottsdale. So our annual action plan public process actually began last fall with our notice of funding availability. We took this before our Human Services Commission for informal recommendations on March 9th, as well as holding a public meeting with them. The Human Services Commission made a formal recommendation, which brings us here tonight. We're having a public hearing. Our annual action plan after tonight's hearing, if this is approved, will be submitted to HUD for approval, and no expenditures would take place before July 1st of 23. So what is our funding allocation this year? So this year this is our actual allocation, is no longer estimated. We are receiving $1,079,000 in CDBG funds. We are estimating approximately $56,500 in program income, and that is received from the Hirsch Academy. We also have our program income from our revolving loan program, which is our green housing rehabilitation program. And then we have reprogram funds from prior year funds that were unspent, either through some of our programs or for nonprofits. That's in the amount of about $68,000. It gives us $1.2 million to allocate. As for our ward recommendations, we're looking at $1 million for our programs and services. 20% will go to planning and administration in the amount of $249. With our total funds that we're going to allocate as about 1.2, leaving a balance of about 10,000 that we'll look at reallocating in year 24-25. So how does that break down? We're looking at like $211,000 for our nonprofits. For public services such as domestic violence victims, our seniors, youth mental health, disabled, and our homeless. We have $689,000 going to our housing programs through our housing rehabilitation, which is the green rehab, emergency roof and repairs, and we also are partnering with Habitat for Humanity to help our staff. We have an excess of funding due to the COVID pandemic. We were unable to spend the money in the last 2 years, so we have a nonprofit partner coming on board to help us expend the money for emergency repairs. And then Ability 360 is going to be joining us as a partner as well, and they will be rehabilitating rental properties. $100,000 will be set aside for our public facility improvements. We currently have about 4 or 5 public facility projects going on, and some of them are going over budget, so we wanted to allocate some additional funding in case it was needed, so this is where we put that funding. Our home investment partnership programs, we have a carry forward amount of $269,000 from program year 21 that we took before the Human Services Commission, and for acquisition and rehabilitation of affordable housing. And the recommendation is to award that to ARM of Save the Family for the purchase of another rental property in the city of Scottsdale, bringing the total to 20 affordable rental properties in Scottsdale. Our program 22-year funds, we have $366,000 that are going to be allocated to the city of Scottsdale. We would like to begin a pilot project out of the Community Assistance Office for tenant-based rental assistance for the seniors that are being displaced and evicted from their homes. $343,000 of that will go directly to the seniors, and $22,000 will be for staff to administer the program. It will be administered exactly like our HCV program, except the referrals will be with a memorandum of agreement with our senior centers, so the referrals can only be received from those 2 agencies. So this year we actually did receive public comments. So we opened up our public comment period with our first public hearing in February, and then we opened up our official public comment period on the annual action plan in March. And in February we received an email from a resident who said that he has been witnessing some homelessness in the community, said we should really put our community development block grant funds towards stable housing, affordable options, mental health, and transportation. That includes not just the homeless, but those individuals who need to get jobs or seniors to pharmacies. We also received a public comment from a resident in the Hallcraft community requesting to utilize the funds for, I believe it was the water heaters, changing it over for the entire community. And unfortunately, that community is at, I believe it was 32.4% low moderate income, so they are ineligible community. In order to be an eligible census tract, Scottsdale is what's called an exception grantee. The area has to be 39.4% low to moderate income. However, individual homeowners in that area, should they need to have their water heater replaced, could income qualify through our emergency repair program, and she was made aware of that as well as provided the links to those information. So the action requested this evening is to adopt Resolution 12764 to approve our 23-24 Annual Action Plan and the 5th substantial amendment to our 19-20 Annual Action Plan. Use the award and allocation of CDBG and funds for eligible programs and services, associated contracts, reprogram our prior year funds, and then designate the city manager and the community assistance manager to take any further action. That concludes tonight's presentation.
Well, the next step is I will open a public hearing on the subject CDGB program as noted, and by opening the public hearing, this allows us to comply with the requirements of notification, and as stated, there was some comment earlier. However, I see no cards have been submitted as additional input. So with that, I would close public comment. At this point, on item number 11, I have several council people wishing to speak, and then I will be open to an action item. Councilwoman Whitehead, then Councilmember Durham.
Well, this is very exciting, of course. I'm really supportive. I was not aware, about the revolving loan program income, can you give me a little more information on that?
Sure, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we have a green rehabilitation program. So when a homeowner income qualifies for the program, we can do modifications to make it more energy efficient. We do worked with the energy in the planning department, and they receive up to $85,000. After a period of 3 years, half of the loan is forgiven, and the other half is placed, a lien is placed on the home, and they don't have to pay it back unless they sell the property.
That's very interesting. I was not aware of that program. Then on the Ability 360, that's terrific news. So the goal there is to rehab homes to make the accessible for people with disabilities?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, yes.
Okay, great. Tell me a little bit more detail about the rental assistance for seniors. That's definitely what I'm seeing, one-on-one in the community as a need.
Okay, so Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we did meet with our senior centers probably repeatedly over the last 2 years, and it's really started, last year we talked about the silver tsunami, how we're seeing the seniors be displaced, the renters or the landlords, to no fault of their own, are increasing their rents. The seniors can't afford it. They're getting non-renewal of lease. They can't afford to pay their rents based on their Social Security. So in an effort to keep people who have lived in Scottsdale their entire lives to remain and live in the area where they were raised, we're proposing to do tenant-based rental assistance. So the target population is seniors, but it's those seniors that are 50% or more cost burdened by their rent.
Okay, and is there a limit of the assistance? What percentage of the rent can be paid for through this program? Or is it how are you determining how much is paid?
So through the Housing Choice Voucher Program, it will be administered, and they would have to pay potentially up to 30% toward their rent, and this Community Assistance Office would pay the remaining balance. So they would enter into something called a HAP contract with the City of Scottsdale.
Okay, great. And then when would these funds be available?
They should be available pending a contract from Maricopa County July 1st. Hopefully that will be on a June agenda. Otherwise, you might not see it until August, so it just depends on when the contract comes from the county.
It's just, okay, I just will point out, as I've pointed out before, that city governments are frontline governments, and I know I can picture the faces of people who need that money today. So I'm really happy about that. Thank you, and I'm going to be supporting this.
Thank you. Next, we have Councilmember Durham and then Councilwoman Janik.
Thank you, Mayor. I saw in here that there is, I think, $200,000 for Habitat for Humanity, which is going to go to roof repair. And there's also another amount, $250,000 for the city of Scottsdale for roof repair. Is there a difference between those two programs? Are they directed at different classes?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, they are both the same program. However, we are paying the contractor as we don't have enough staff to move the programs through, especially with the heat season coming and people's ACs are breaking. It allows us to expend the funds quicker, and it allows us to work with the partners to get them out into the community sooner so that everyone can get AC.
Thank you.
Councilwoman Janik and then Councilwoman Caputi.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mary. Very nice report. I'm really excited to see the funds going where they're needed. I just had one question, and you mentioned you have $269,000 that you're going to repurpose or reprogram, and it was on the Home Investment Partnership Program. How are you lucky enough to have money left over?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, previous year fundings from 18 and 19 were unexpended before the housing boom. We were able to purchase, or the arm of Save the Family was able to purchase the properties at a reduced rate, leaving a balance. And so they are stretching their dollars to make them work.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it. Thank you, Mayor.
Councilwoman Caputi, then Councilmember Graham.
Thank you. I'm not super familiar with this program, so I had a couple more nuts and bolts questions. We have a pretty decent-sized city here in Scottsdale, and we're getting $1.2 million in dollars, $1 million of which we can use for these amazing programs. Why is the amount so small? What determines how much we get as a city?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, population size. So they do it on a formula based on, I think, approximately 241,000 people.
Okay, and then how are we deciding? What's the process? Like, it seemed like it was such a small amount of programs that were in that list that we got. Like, I know it goes before our Human Services Commission, but do we wait for people to ask us for a grant, or do we go out into the community and look at where there's needs?
So, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, it's both. So we do start our planning process once this annual action plan is submitted to HUD. We actually start the planning process again before it'll cycle through for by the time I come before you again next May to have the same conversation. But our staff works with other departments within the city, economic development, planning, community services, public works. We reach out to the CIP programs to see what is an enhancement that we can do within the city, what is lacking in the budget that we can enhance with CDBG funds. So we do start inward first with what is needed within City of Scottsdale government. And then we work with our nonprofit partners. So we do start the funding process usually around August and September. So we start working with those nonprofits. We did do a little something different this year. We worked with the Human Services Commission and set funding priorities so that the applications received were targeted directly where they were needed most.
Because I noticed one of the comments was about helping with transportation, as, you know, that being a gap. And I had this conversation with our Assistant City Manager, Bill Murphy. I think another place where I would love to see us put some effort would be in helping fill the gap for childcare. I didn't see that anywhere in here, and just like transportation, I mean, you can give someone all the housing and jobs that you can, but without somewhere to put kids, it's kind of useless. So I'd love to try to reach out and find some way to fund that in some way next year. And then my last comment is, I know Councilwoman Janik brought this up as well. I made a little note that $366,000 towards affordable housing. I think that we said to start the meeting that it's Affordable Housing Month. Wow, I'd love to see us do some more creative things with that money. I wish there was more. That doesn't seem nearly enough. To me, that seems like, again, a place where we should really get creative with those dollars. And I would love to hear more about what we're doing, because that is definitely an area that we would like to concentrate on and get a little more creative. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me call on the city manager and then Councilmember Graham.
Mr. Mayor, thank you, members of council. Councilmember Caputi, to add to the response from Mayor, I just wanted to add on CDBG funds. It's based on population, but it also, there's a couple other characteristics which open up other pots of money for which we are very minimally eligible for. And one of that is blight. We're not qualified as a blight community, and the other is income within the community. And so we have very small segments in the community, or pockets, as noted with the discussions on some of the other programs. So we don't have a lot of availability of some of the CDB monies that maybe other communities have, because we don't have those two that exist in any large scale within the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Councilmember Graham and then Vice Mayor Littlefield.
Thank you, Mayor. Mary, thank you for your presentation. I wanted to ask you about a few of the programs. The first one being HOME, that program. So that's for property acquisition, is that right? Is that correct?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, it is one of the eligible activities.
Eligible, so it's not necessarily going to happen?
It is one of the 4 eligible categories, yes, but the property acquisition is given to our nonprofit partner of ARM, the Save the Family.
Okay. So I guess my question was, who owns the housing, or do they purchase housing units when it says acquisition?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, ARM of Save the Family will own the property. However, a lien is placed on the property based on the cost of the property for an affordability period between 15 to 20 years. So the city has a lien on it, and they have to maintain affordability for an extended period of time, and then the city of Scottsdale monitors them on a biannual basis.
Do you get like what's the reporting? What type of reporting do we receive to kind of monitor that over that time period?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, they submit during the grant period progress reports, and then once the contract is resolved, then the City of Scottsdale Community Assistance Office is part of our ongoing
HUD regulations, we monitor them directly. So we go out, just this last year, we went to ARM of Save the Family, picked a funding year, fiscal year 1920. They had to pull all of the files. We went through all of their files and all of their expenditures to ensure compliance with HUD regulations, as well as their rent rolls, and verified that they were using the correct income guidelines and utility assistance payments to ensure compliance.
How many total units do you think there are as part of that program, I guess, on a cumulative basis?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, are you asking me for Scottsdale or the entire state? Because Scottsdale, this will make property number 20. For the
20.
state, I don't know the answer.
No, I was curious about Scottsdale.
ARM of Save the Family has, this will be their 20th property.
Okay. Ability 360, it looks like there's 4 units there. How do you, Councilmember Caputi kind of talked about this, but what's your selection criteria? How do you?
So, Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Ability 360 actually was a nonprofit partner that went through the social services funding process, and they applied for a housing category. So Habitat for Humanity was a special notice of funding availability specifically for a contracted worker, as opposed to Ability 360 applied as a nonprofit agency. So they went through the same process where they submitted an application. They were then scored by the Human Services Commission and then voted upon.
Okay, the commission, very good. The side question, but the heat mitigation plan, do you know what the total cost of that's going to be off the top of your head? Because I think that this is paying for part of that.
This is $22,000, and it is specifically just for South Scottsdale and the Vista del Camino and Paiute Neighborhood Community Center only areas.
Okay. When do you expect to have results for that study?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I will defer to Lisa McNeely with that information.
Okay.
The plan is to start the expenditures and let her know she can move forward on July 1st of 2023. So I imagine that as we complete our CAPER for next year's funding, which is our Consolidated Annual Performance Evaluation Report, that information will be contained within there, but I would be happy to share it once it becomes available.
Okay, very good. Public services, there's a lot of entities in there and a lot of very good entities. Is that part of sort of the same criteria, selection criteria as far as scoring and the commission looked through that?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, yes, it is a competitive grant process.
I was going to ask about, we have a property, it's called Bellevue, and it's kind of mentioned in the packet. Can you say a little more about the Bellevue property?
Sure. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, we do own a property on Bellevue, 7220 and 7224. It is approximately 8 units. It was purchased from CSA originally, who had the funding from the Community Development Block Grant. It is currently being managed by Dunlap McGee, and it brings in an average about $67,000 a year as program income.
What's the tenancy turnover? How long do tenants stay? Is it kind of like we talked about kind of like a bridge, but is that what this is, or is this more longer term?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, it is more long-term. There is CDBG housing guidelines, and we're actually in the process of monitoring Dunlap McGee and the Bellevue property as we speak.
So do you know what the kind of how long tenancy might be?
At this point, I don't know that answer, but I'll be happy to get back to you.
Does that project interface with any other programs we offer to move people towards self-sufficiency, or is that sort of outside the mission?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, it is currently outside of the mission at this point.
All right, and then I had a few more questions, but I think I'll leave it there for the time being. Mary, thank you for taking my questions. Mayor, thank you.
Okay, next we have Vice Mayor Littlefield.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to thank you, Mary. I think over the last year or two, as I've been watching this and working with our social services department and becoming more familiar with what is happening with this money, you're doing a fantastic job. My questions have been answered. I had questions very similar to Councilwoman Janik and Caputi, and I think they were answered. And so I am very, very
thrilled with what you're doing, and continue on. Thank you.
Okay. Well, my comments are I find that the use of the funds is quite efficient, very small carry forward. I do want to point out I do serve on the Maricopa Association of Governments, MAG, and there's a document called Pathway Home that is available, and it will outline all of the efforts of all cities and outline large to small of different programs that are and their effectiveness. With that, I will move to adopt resolution number 12764 to approve FY 2023 and 2024 annual action plan and fifth substantial amendment to the FY 2019-2020 annual action plan and authorize Part A, Part B, Part C, Part D, and E as stated.
Second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. Further comment, questions? Seeing none, please record your vote. So we have unanimous. Thank you. Next, we will return to the subject of public comment. Public comment is an opportunity for anyone to step forward for 3 minutes and discuss an item which is not on the agenda. We see that there are no requests for public comment. Therefore, I will close public comment. Next, we are moving on to the citizen petition, item number 12 on our agenda. Our city charter calls for and recognizes any petition if it's presented to the clerk to be to be brought forward during the next meeting. Seeing none, therefore there are no citizen petitions, and I close that item as well. Next, we have a. I will at this point adjourn the regular portion of the City Council meeting, and we will be convening a special meeting. So, accordingly, I will call the May 2nd, 2023 City Council special meeting to order, and note for the record that council members and charter officers are present. Our item 1 for our special meeting is a request for executive session. May I have a motion to adjourn into executive session to discuss, consider, and provide possible direction regarding the recruitment and hiring process of a new city auditor, discuss and consult with city's attorneys and representatives in order to consider the city's position and instruct the attorneys and representatives on contracts related to recruitment and potential appointment of a city auditor, and discuss and consult with the city's attorneys for legal advice regarding the same.
So move.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Let's please record your vote. We are adjourned to executive session. Thank you.